Boar's Head has had 2 recalls in the last 14 months, and the contaminated products from the latest one could still be sitting in your refrigerator right now. July of 2024 brought contaminated deli meat that killed 10 people. And when inspectors finally got inside the plant, they found cockroaches, mold growing on equipment, and blood pooling on the floor. The FDA shut it down. But fast forward to January 2026, and we're looking at another recall. This time for cheese, with expiration dates that say they're perfectly fine to eat through May of this year. The numbers are 11,529 units of grated Pecorino Romano cheese across 5 different brand names distributed to 20 states, and the FDA just upgraded this to a Class 1 status, their highest danger level, reserved for products that could cause serious adverse health consequences or death. Nobody's gotten sick yet, but Listeria can take up to 70 days to make you sick, and it's the only foodborne pathogen that actually multiplies and gets stronger the longer it sits cold in your fridge. For people over 65, the statistics are grim. 1 in 6 who contract listeriosis die from it. I'm going to show you which products to check for, why this keeps happening, and what you need to do today to protect yourself and your family. On November 21st of 2025, the Ambriola company out of West Caldwell, New Jersey, initiated a voluntary recall after their own testing detected Listeria monocytogenes in grated Pecorino Romano cheese. And what makes this dangerous is that 5 different brand names all came from the same contaminated facility. The brands you need to check for are Locatelli, Boar's Head, Members Mark from Sam's Club, Ambriola's Picante brand, and Pinna. If you shop at Kroger, Publix, Walmart, or Sam's Club, these products were on shelves between November 3rd and November 20th across 20 states from Arizona to Washington. On January 6th of 2026, the FDA upgraded this to Class 1. And here's why this matters. Those products carried expiration dates through May 17th of 2026, which means right now recalled cheese could be sitting in refrigerators across America, where someone bought a container in November, used half of it, and put the rest back where the date stamp still says it's perfectly good. It's not good, because it's contaminated with bacteria that thrive in cold temperatures. And here's what most people don't realize. If you bought Members Mark at Sam's Club and your neighbor bought Boar's Head at their grocery store, you both thought you were buying different products from different brands. You weren't. It's the same cheese from the same facility out of the same equipment, the same contamination, where the only difference is which label got slapped on the container. 1 manufacturer, 5 brands, 11,529 contaminated units, and Boar's Head's response tells you everything, because they didn't just pull the recalled items, they pulled every single product they sourced from Ambriola, including products that weren't even part of the recall, which means they don't trust their suppliers anymore. And this isn't Boar's Head's first contamination problem. In July of 2024, a Listeria outbreak traced back to Boar's Head deli meat from their Jarrett, Virginia plant killed 10 people, while 59 others got sick across 19 states, triggering a recall of 7 million pounds of deli meat. With USDA inspectors finally released their findings, the details were horrifying. Between August of 2023 and August of 2024, inspectors documented 69 separate instances of non-compliance at this facility, and the plant just kept running. Mold on walls and equipment that touches the food, insects everywhere like cockroaches, beetles, flies, blood pooling on the floor. This went on for an entire year at a facility producing deli meat marketed as premium products under a brand that calls itself the finest. And during this time, people were dying. The median age of victims was 75. Grandparents and retirees who walked into their grocery store thinking they were buying high-quality deli meat they could trust. 10 of them died. Boar's Head shut down the Jarrett plant in January 2024 and permanently discontinued their liverwurst nationwide, then settled a class action lawsuit for $3.1 million while wrongful death suits continue. The plant eventually reopened under enhanced oversight. But here's what nobody answered. A so-called premium brand that charges premium prices and emphasizes quality in every piece of marketing, tolerates blood pools on the floor for 12 consecutive months. The Bronkhorst family, who owns Boar's Head, received $1.5 billion in cash distributions over 15 years. Leading up to this crisis, while their own CFO testified under oath in 2022 that he didn't know who the CEO was. Premium prices to customers, billion-dollar payouts to the owners, and cockroaches in the facility. And when Boar's Head's name shows up on another recall, you start seeing a pattern of a brand that outsources production, slaps their name on packages, and acts shocked when contamination happens. But the Boar's Head disaster doesn't even come close to the worst Listeria outbreak of the last decade. For 9.5 years, a Listeria outbreak spread across 11 states, sickening 26 people, killing 2, causing 1 pregnancy loss, and infecting 2 newborns, and nobody could figure out where it was coming from. The CDC investigated in 2017 and couldn't find the source. They investigated again in 2021 and still came up empty-handed. The outbreak only produced 2 or 3 cases per year, spread across different states over different years, never concentrated enough to create a clear pattern. January 2024 changed everything when Hawaii state health officials conducted routine retail sampling and found Listeria monocytogenes in a package of Rizzo Bros H. Cotija cheese. They sent it for a whole genome sequencing, and the computer spit it back a match. This cheese, sitting on a shelf in Hawaii in 2024, contained the exact same bacteria strain that had killed people since June 2014. Within weeks, the entire puzzle came together. Rizzo Lopez Foods of Modesto, California, one of the largest Hispanic cheese manufacturers in the western United States, making cotija, queso fresco, and ricotta, sold at Costco, Walmart, and Whole Foods. The twist is, they weren't just selling under their own name. They operated under 14 different brand names, including Whole Foods' 365 brand and Costco's house brand. And that's why the CDC couldn't crack the case for 9 years. When you interview someone who's sick and ask them what cheese they ate, and they say, "I bought it at Costco," that doesn't help you connect to someone in a different state who ate queso fresco from Walmart because the label showed different brands. It was all coming from the same place. Rizzo Lopez Foods, contaminated since at least 2014. February of 2024, 3 weeks after Hawaii's discovery, Rizzo Lopez recalled approximately 120 dairy products. That's everything they made. The FDA inspectors found the outbreak strain in 2 locations inside the Modesto plant, along with what the official report calls various unsanitary conditions. October of 2024, a federal court permanently barred Rizzo Lopez from manufacturing any food product until they could prove their facility met safety standards. They've never made it there because the company filed bankruptcy in September of 2025, converted to liquidation 6 weeks later, and now the company is dead. The technology that solved this case, whole genome sequencing, that existed in 2014. The database that matches the Hawaii sample to decade-old clinical isolates was already operational. What didn't exist was enough people doing the testing. Hawaii officials got lucky, pulling the right package off the right shelf at the right time. If they tested a different store or skipped that retailer that week, Rizzo Lopez would still be operating today, while people kept getting sick. So what makes Listeria so different from every other type of food poisoning? Listeria monocytogenes grows in your refrigerator. Salmonella and E. coli need heat to multiply, which is why we refrigerate food. But Listeria thrives in cold, actively multiplying at temperatures as low as 32 degrees. The package of contaminated cheese you put in your fridge, thinking you're keeping it safe, means the bacteria count is climbing every single day. The longer you store it, the more dangerous it becomes, because your fridge isn't protecting you. It's incubating a deadly pathogen. About 1,250 Americans develop invasive listeriosis every year, and approximately 172 die from it. That's a 20% case fatality rate, compared to Salmonella's 0.03%. More than half of all Listeria infections happen to people over 65. And if you fall into that age group and contract invasive listeriosis, your odds are 1 in 6 of dying. 94% end up hospitalized because Listeria invades your bloodstream, crosses into your central nervous system, and infects your brain. Fever, severe headache, stiff neck, confusion, loss of balance, and seizures. That's why it kills. Bacterial meningitis and septicemia, where an organism is literally invading your brain. 44% of people who recover carry permanent damage, cognitive impairment, hearing loss, and seizures that continue for years. The incubation period makes everything worse. Salmonella takes 6 to 72 hours, while Listeria takes 3 to 70 days, with a median of 2 to 3 weeks. You could eat contaminated cheese today and not get sick until March. By then, you've eaten hundreds of different foods that you have no idea which one made you ill. And neither do investigators. That's why Rizzo Lopez operated for 9 years without getting caught, and why the CDC investigated twice and came up empty-handed. Listeria doesn't change how food looks, smells, or tastes. Contaminated cheese looks normal, smells normal, and tastes normal. The bacteria stays invisible, the symptoms get delayed by weeks, and by the time you're sick, you can't remember what you ate. Pregnant women are 10 to 20 times more likely to contract listeriosis, and 1 in 4 who get it lose the pregnancy. The Rizzo Lopez outbreak hit 4 pregnant women, resulted in 1 pregnancy loss, and left 2 newborns infected. The one manufacturer many brands problem isn't unique to cheese. If this investigation is opening your eyes to what's really happening behind corporate doors, hit the like button and subscribe to The Corporate Back Door. It's completely free, and it helps us to keep bringing you these investigations that the food industry doesn't want you to see. In June of 2024, the FDA announced an ice cream recall due to Listeria contamination. At Totally Cool Inc., a facility in Owings Mills, Maryland, the recall hit 67 to 70 different products across 13 brands: Friendly's, Hershey's Ice Cream, Jenny's Splendid Ice Creams, Chipwich, 13 completely different marketing identities, and wildly different price points, all made in the same facility, on the same equipment. Pick up a Friendly's ice cream cake for your grandchild's birthday, and you think you're buying from Friendly's. You're buying from Totally Cool Inc. in Maryland. Someone else picks up a Jenny's ice cream sandwich that costs 3 times as much and markets itself as handcrafted premium. They're also buying from Totally Cool Inc. Same facility, same Listeria contamination, same recall. In October of 2025, Great Lakes Cheese issued a recall for shredded cheese covering 260,000 cases across 45 different store brands in 31 states. Target's Good and Gather, Walmart's Great Value, Aldi's Happy Farms, Publix, all made by Great Lakes Cheese in Adams, New York. When you choose Aldi's brand over Walmart's, thinking you're making a meaningful choice, you're not, because they came from the same facility. Let's circle back to our cheese recall. Ambriola Company, 5 brands, 1 facility. If you bought Members Mark at Sam's Club and your neighbor bought Boar's Head, you both made the exact same purchase. Same equipment, same badge, same contamination. The only difference was which label got slapped on the end of the line. This is called contract manufacturing. It's legal, it's standard practice, and it's invisible because the label shows you the brand name but doesn't tell you who actually made it. When that facility gets contaminated, the recall hits a dozen brands at once, and consumers have no idea those brands were connected. Here's what you can do to protect yourself. The safest cheeses are hard cheeses made from pasteurized milk, like cheddar, Parmesan, and Swiss. The more riskier cheese is soft cheeses like brie, queso fresco, and feta. Any cheese made from raw, unpasteurized milk carries additional risk, and the label has to disclose this. Where you buy matters more than what you buy. Factory-sealed, pre-packaged cheese has a Listeria prevalence of 0.17%. Cheese sliced at a deli counter has 1.39%. Deli-sliced products are 4.3 times riskier per serving, and almost 70% of deaths from deli-associated listeriosis comes from retail sliced products, because the slicer that just contaminated turkey is now cutting your cheese. If you're over 65, the CDC guidance is clear. Avoid all deli counter meats and cheeses, unless you reheat them to 165 degrees until they're steaming hot. If you buy deli turkey or ham, heat it in a pan or microwave until you see steam rising. If you have recalled products, stop eating them immediately and dispose of them safely. Clean your entire fridge, removing everything, washing with hot soapy water, sanitizing with diluted bleach at 1 tablespoon per gallon of water, paying special attention to drawers and door seals because the Listeria forms biofilms that regular cleaning doesn't remove. Monitor yourself for symptoms for up to 70 days. Fever over 100 degrees, severe headache, stiff neck, confusion, loss of balance, seizures. If you develop any of those, contact your healthcare provider immediately and tell them you're concerned about Listeria, because it's treatable with antibiotics if caught early. Here's why this keeps happening. The FDA has 432 investigators for 75,000 domestic food facilities, and 91% of facilities with significant violations don't receive timely follow-up inspections within 6 months. Inspectors find serious problems and there's no follow-up because the facility just keeps operating. That's why Boar's head's Jared plant accumulated 69 violations over 12 months while people were dying. Congress passed the Food Traceability Rule, requiring high-risk foods to be tracked through the entire supply chain so investigators can trace outbreaks in days instead of years. The rule was supposed to take effect on January 20th of 2026. After heavy industry lobbying, the FDA delayed it 30 months to July of 2028. The technology exists to prevent the next decade-long outbreak. Whole genome sequencing cracked Riso Lopez in weeks after it went unsold for 9 years. But the technology only works if someone collects the samples. Hawaii officials got lucky. What about all the stores in all the other states, where inspectors don't have time or resources for routine sampling? We have the DNA databases, the sequencing labs, the computational power. What we don't have is enough people collecting samples and enough inspectors checking facilities to catch problems before people die. Check your fridge today for recalled Pecorino Romano, Locatelli, Boar's Head, Member's Mark, Ambriola, or Pinna. If you find any, throw it away and clean your fridge with bleach solution. The system that's supposed to protect us is overwhelmed and understaffed, while the food industry lobbies to delay reforms, which means we have to protect ourselves by staying informed and demanding better. Thanks for sticking with me all the way through this investigation. The fact that you watched it to the end tells me you're someone who cares about holding corporations accountable and protecting yourself and your family from the kind of deception we just exposed. If you found this investigation valuable, please hit the like button. It makes a massive difference in getting this information in front of more people who need to see it. And subscribe to the Corporate Backdoor so you don't miss any future investigations into corporate deception in the food and beverage industry. We're digging into the stories that companies like Boar's Head hope you never find out about. I've put together a playlist on your screen right now with investigations that follow the same corporate accountability angle, exposing the gap between what food companies tell you and what's actually happening behind the scenes. If you've made it this far, these are definitely videos you'll want to watch. Thanks again for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.